For now, I would like to introduce the last panel of the day. It's called Establishing a Studio in Malta, and it's a little bit of a State of the Union, bringing 4 different speakers who all have a studio here, and hearing their story and their journeys, how it has been. And it is being moderated by our dear Ivan Filletti. And welcome also to the stage speakers Dave Hawkins, Nick Porsche, Toti Beck, and Giuseppe Crugliano.
Giuseppe, you're here, you are singing.
The blinding light.
I did it.
Like stars.
Mic check, mic check.
There you go. Thank you, guys. No. First of all, guys, the studio head, so we must do this. All right, I think it's very, very, very important.
Do you think I can get a glass of water?
You want some water?
Yeah.
Yes, can we get some water for Toti, please? At some point, yes, it's going to be organized for you.
I'm sure I'm supposed to.
We can share, Toti.
Sorry?
We can share.
I wanted to. I would do it, you know.
So we're here among,
Post-COVID, but
I would
all right.
say,
We all have it. I mean,
amongst very good friends, in my case. All these lovely people here have, at some point, mentored me also about what we need to do in Malta. They've also been very frank with their criticism, which is good, because sometimes we need to understand also the brutal truths. But more importantly, they've been extremely supportive of it. They've believed in the island in more ways than one. And they're all very compelling in their experiences, with all the ups and downs, because it's never been, success. It never goes on a straight line, right? And maybe I'll start with Giuseppe.
I knew.
I'll start with Giuseppe. Here, Toti, here.
Oh, could I have one as well, please?
All right, okay. There we go.
Excuse me, could I get one as well,
Here we
please?
go.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll get you one. Anything else, guys? This is how we treat the studio
Well,
head.
it's like
all right?
champagne.
Giuseppe, your story is really interesting, and this is what I want to hear, more about, because I always find it very inspiring. You come from Italy, from a town called Crugliano. Is it Crugliano? That's it. Crotone. That's it. And you really moved here, and you started nearly from ground zero, correct?
Yeah.
When you moved.
Yeah,
Tell us all about it, Giuseppe.
Correct. I've been running my studio called 12 Games in Italy for around 10 years in Crotone, which was very hard because, moving talents in a place where people, they don't speak English has been hard. Like the talent pool at that time, I'm talking about 18 years ago. So we were one of the first studio in Italy doing games for console. Nintendo Wii, PSP, PlayStation 2, in this little town in South Italy. Nobody knew where it was. I was able to move developers from all around the country down there. We reached the peak of 30, 35 people, but then at a certain point, it was very hard to run the business because we wanted to expand, and we started tapping into the talent pool outside of the country, but it was very, very hard. So Malta was a natural choice. Well, it was almost a coincidence because there was a lot of activity from Malta Enterprise. At a certain point, Malta Enterprise started contacting all the developers. There was a guy, we're still friends. The guy called everyone in Italy and said, come in Malta, we have big plans, we want to become a big hub for video games, for digital games. The gambling is thriving here. So I say, okay. I say, where is Malta? So I went on Google Map and I found Malta. And then I came over here and was really love at the first sight. Not only because, of course, it's a Mediterranean beautiful island, but because I saw a pro-business country, which is very rare now to have. Like compared to Italy, I don't want to, probably Italy will change, hopefully, finger crossed, in the next few years. But I found Malta pro-business. I found people here, the government, the people, the organization really willing to do something. So I felt home, and it was very, very easy to set up the studio here. But because I always promised to never start any business with debt financing or investment, I started really from ground zero. It was just me with an iMac and a kitchen table in the Piro Street. I will never forget. And then I started with the first small office, and I started hiring the first people, some guys from Hemcast. So it was a mix of students, of course, started with zero investment. I brought my network and my little experience, not bigger, it was like 10 years. It was around 10 years in the industry as an entrepreneur. So I started from nothing, and slowly, piece by piece, building work for our company. We're still a work for our company, but we are in a radical transformation now because we're reaching the objective I always wanted for this company. We are here, so we started from zero. We had at peak 52 people here in Malta. Now we are more organized with remote workers. We have people from all around the world. We have people in South America. We have a big engineering team. So
you realize how much it has changed.
It changed a lot. It's very hard to tell the story of a company like PlayMagic in few minutes.
Yeah.
But essentially, I really wanted to avoid any type of debt financing. Even investors, even if we've been approached by a few potential investors with some good and bad experience. I don't want to go into the details. But I'm very, very grateful that we never closed any deal with those investors, because today I have a company which is profitable. We don't make still like big margin, but we move several millions of euros in this island in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And we have like big clients like Sumo, Tencent, Activision. We help on games like Call of Duty, big franchises. But in the last 2 years, we are reinvesting everything in our internal production. So currently, we are working on our third internal prototype. The fourth one was canceled. I didn't like it. No, we probably get it back. It was frozen. But we have 2 AA console PC concept prototype. We're building the third one, which is very ambitious, and we will present maybe together into the Gamescom stand next year. Yeah. And it's very ambitious. So it's an international company working with high-profile clients, and now trying to transform.
Excellent.
And
thank you, Giuseppe.
Thank you.
That's really nice. Dave.
Yes.
You've moved the studio from the UK, although you still have a presence in the UK, but
yes.
you have a presence here also in Malta, with Hawkins, probably one of the real first ones, I would say here, right?
Yeah, so I'll try and keep it a bit shorter. So I set Exium up in the UK in the year 2000, and we were, for the largest time, worked for High Studio, and moved here in 2013. But before we moved here, we worked on FIFA, The Sims, Need for Speed, Tiger Woods, many Electronic Arts IP. Then when we came here, the first title that we developed here in 2013 was Angry Birds Go. Then we did Formula One, then Lemmings, and more recently Sackboy, which isn't quite released yet, but will go out, we think, around March time next year. It's sort of in soft launch at the moment. We found many similar things to what Giuseppe said. An environment that's very business-friendly, very business-orientated. We got an awful lot of support from the state, which we were very, very grateful for. And we felt so welcome, and it was such a great place to be. And I mean, if you look at the conference and what's going on with the kids coming through the door, it's amazing. This is our future, and they've embraced it in a way which I think the multi-state always knew was there and always would. And for me, I didn't know this was going to happen. And when I arrived, and I had all these kids on the stand, and they were so excited about what we were doing and looking what we did. To me, it just fills my heart with joy. It was amazing, and I felt so excited and so energized about what it is. And that is, I think, the joy of video games. It really puts a smile on your face, and for me it was just amazing. And I think, well done. I'm so pleased for the conference. It's something which we want to continue growing. There is also obviously lessons to learn. Yeah. In maintaining it also more into also a B2B event more than anything. But Dave, thanks for that, and thanks for the insights also. John.
You're the youngest one here, right? And your wife hasn't popped yet, correct?
I hope so.
Because we're waiting for anytime
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, I hope so. If
So, John,
my pocket vibrates, that's what it means.
If we
okay,
see you running,
you'll
then
have to run out. John and I met. He was working for an iGaming outfit, right? And now he's part of our Basecamp project. The company is called Amazing Geeks. They're part of Voodoo, and they're also exhibiting here at Playcon. John, your experience, and I know what you always really struck me is that you've always been very open about recruitment and about helping young people to get into the industry. And hats off to them. You always gave us a lot of time for that also, and mentoring young people. Your experience and maybe the state of play of what you're doing right now, John, with Amazing Geeks.
So, like you said, I love Malta. It's been very, very welcoming for me in terms of personally and business all throughout the years. And when with Voodoo, we thought, that we're going to have to start Amazing Geeks, one of the newest studios of Voodoo, because like Voodoo mainly is a hyper-casual player, but we saw all the industry shift, and we decided to go into more game genres like casual and mid-core games, and also some new projects. Let's say we're exploring blockchain and other stuff. But when I saw that we had the need of a new studio, I couldn't think of a better place to start than here. I mean, I can echo what the guy said, like always very, very business-orientated, very, very welcoming country. And one thing that I truly believe in, we've discussed it even personally, I truly believe in the talent that we can nurture here. Mm-hmm. And it comes from talking with the universities, with the institutions, with schools. And
what can we do more, John?
What can we do more? Let me tell you. So, for the next 50 minutes...
the papyrus will...
Give me your elevator pitch.
So, one of the things that I noticed even today, like we're speaking with children, and we had a lot of children in our booth, and we had a lot of game design exercises for them. They got very excited, and then they started asking very, very smart questions, like what kind of software. We're talking about 8, 9, 11-year-old children, asking me, a studio person, like about software already. That's a big plus. So what we have to keep doing is nurturing this. So the information should come from within, from the institutions, from the teachers, from the lecturers, and it has to be communication with us. It has to be communication of a sense like how they can prepare them for us, because it's an amazing country. Might as well we get some of the talent here already. Yeah. There is no need only to look abroad and try to relocate and bring people here.
Now. Which is very hard.
Which is super hard, and it's super costly even for us in a business sense. And if we can nurture the talent locally, that's something that I always support, and I will keep supporting, as you know.
And Toti.
Yes, sir.
So I'll tell you a little story about Toti and I, right? So I was having lunch with Toti once, and somebody came up to me, and he said, "Are you really having lunch with Toti Beck from EVE Online?"
Oh.
And I told him yes, and it was like, the guy was like, it was like I'm having lunch with Bono at one point. So from Iceland, Toti to Malta.
I am famous in an extremely narrow niche, of a narrow niche, at conventions at most, but
So we're having lunch, and people came to talk about that. So
no, I mean,
from Iceland to Malta.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
and the products that you're doing, you have a lovely studio actually in Tajbish.
Yeah, I've been here now. I moved over here, all by myself in 2018.
My
right?
gosh. Time flies when you're enjoying it.
Yeah, time's fun when you're having flies.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can say a lot of what Giuseppe said. I think you worded it brilliantly. You said pro-business, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I felt when I came here. So one of the reasons why I came here is because I wanted to do a huge project that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And we've been working on, for all this time. And I knew that we would be growing very slowly, and we're a very strange kind of beast, narc. Because we are an indie doing a AAA game, right? That's basically what we are. And growing from, 1, I guess, to about 20.
20
right now. It's been great. I mean,
You've got some amazing talent.
well,
around
yes,
you.
yes. But the thing is this. It's a little bit like having the girl next to me saying, how do I look? Please, be honest. And that's always a bad idea.
Right.
So you want the whole truth? No, no. The good thing is that I think I like Malta more than any Maltese that I have met. And that's a fact. The only place I need to sell Malta is in Malta. When I came here and we met, at an event.
That's it.
And I told you what I needed, I said, I come from a country where there's less than 500,000 people, a little island. That
We're very similar, actually, right?
Very similar. And I said, we need, special service. And then that guy started smiling. And like I say, I've been in the computer game business for 25 years, and every government agency or entity, they always say, and please let us help you, right? Because they got to find something for all the people to do that they're paying salaries. In this case, it's actually been that way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
4 years later, we got a lot of trust when we came here. I could have walked away with a grant.
It was a leap of
that we
faith,
got.
but you've got a fantastic track record also.
I think so. We are the opposite of Giuseppe. We haven't made a dime for 4 years and won't any time in the future. But no, will in some time in the future, not in the immediate future.
That's it.
Yes, yes.
In fact, Toti, what's interesting about it is that there's a lot of innovation going on within your team, right? And what you're doing. So, just steering a bit away from Malta, but NARC as a studio, and you as a studio, how do you look at innovation and what you're doing? Because technology is changing all the time, and every time I come to your studio and see new things going on, you're always nearly ahead of the loop there. So, give us a bit of insight into that.
Yeah, I mean, we're it's a big question, but I mean, because we have a project that has a very long production time, and we're a little bit designing for the future, right? So we have to try to, it's like an Olympic champion. You want to peak at the right time, and well, I can tell you something regarding that, because we have chosen all kinds of elite talent, right, that we've gotten here over to the island. But like the guys were saying, what surprised us is then we could, we found much more local talent that we would ever have imagined, and people who, are able to do top-level things, whether that's in art or engineering. And I can tell you, when I came first to Malta, earlier than that, I think it was the first year there was a master's program in computer science.
Yep.
Now there's a special course in AI.
Yes, that's it. True. And the innovation has been great. I mean, probably I haven't told you this, but I'll say it on camera now, Toti. I had somebody whom I brought to your studio, right? And when he walked out, he told me, this must have been like what Steve Jobs felt when he walked into Pixar. So that's what he told me the minute he walked out of your studio. So that's how much the innovation is going on here. Nick.
Yes.
Nick is a very interesting story. So Nick, you started off in the incubator space at university, Nick, right? A very small area, but the University of Malta has a great incubator space called also Takeoff, with the accelerator there, and Dorado Games is fruit of that, correct, Nick? So when you came here?
Yeah. Well, I first came to Malta in the old millennium. So, 99 was the first time that I actually encountered Malta. And little did I know that I would ever, end up living here. 10 years later, I came here with a German company that set up a studio here in Malta for licensing reasons. We were licensing Universal Studio games and license IP into our company, and then developing games controlled here for Malta, in a distributed fashion. And after we successfully launched those, I didn't feel with my family to move abroad again. We were discussing North America and the West Coast, but that was not an option, and we decided, okay, no, we'll stay here. I'll just do my own thing. And I found a partner in crime with my current business partner, Simon. So we were two guys on an island without money, with an idea and no office. And we sort of decided, okay, well, we need to set our priorities. So frankly, what happened was that back then Malta Enterprise was so nice to give us a grant of over 200,000 euros in a de minimis, which was awesome. And not that we had like 200,000 euros in cash in the pockets, but we could bring something to the negotiation table when talking to investors, which was definitely worth something. And we needed an office, so that's actually how we ended up at the University Incubator. And then from there we started developing games, because by that time we had then actually been partially acquired by Stillfront. So they just invested into us 2 heads plus X, and then we just started hiring. And ever since we've been hiring and building and expanding, and we're doing very well right now. I mean, we can't complain at all. Got a multi-platform game out there, which is.
Can you share some numbers? Of course, it's a strategy game.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have a strategy game which has about 300,000 daily active users. We're in the
300,000 daily active.
300,000 daily actives. Our CCU is about 80,000, so CCU is concurrent users online. So we're peaking around 80,000 people right now at any given moment at peak, playing our game. We have several platforms. We're on mobile, both mobile platforms as well as PC and Steam, and they can all play happily with each other at any given time. 24/7, of course, online, free to play. We are. Well, I mean, frankly, we are hitting it out of the park right now. I mean, so for us, it's a luxury problem. We're actually hiring more people. We're in constant demand.
What kind of talent are you looking for, Nick?
Predominantly, actually, right now, programmers. We need Unity programmers. We need experienced Unity programmers, and that's actually an issue because the majority of our team is actually Maltese, and we were able to hire from university, from other sources within the island, and that worked really well for us. So some of our leads, actually, the majority of our leads are Maltese, and have been with us for years now. And in a team of 40 people, which we are right now. And so what we're now doing, actually, is we're hiring more from abroad on a senior level. So you must imagine that we need someone with a very high level of seniority and experience in order to form the nucleus of, let's say, a new technology team, such as Unity or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we will actually hire into this the more junior people that we find actually locally here. And we are having more trouble actually finding the seniority staff from abroad, which is also non-European countries, obviously. This includes South America, North America, well, not Russia right now, obviously, but other countries, and Europe. So this is an issue where we're trying to kind of work out how to be able to kind of bring these people in to form, that level of expertise that is needed in order to dock on the more junior people that are coming from university, coming from other studios, or maybe even from the iGaming industry, you name it, and just want to join us.
That's really nice. So going maybe a bit into management now, Dave, how do you deal with change? Because, I mean, we've been through COVID, right? It changed the way we nearly work and engage. The staff want to work, or there's more opportunities to work remotely. How does that work from a studio perspective?
Yeah, so COVID kind of changed our organisation quite dramatically. We were very much an office-based studio. We had offices in the UK, we had offices in Malta, and obviously COVID happened. And I was very proud of the guys. Within 2 days, we went from being in an office to all working from home. In actual fact, there were some substantive benefits from the point where we went, because there was always a UK and Malta were two organisations that felt separate.
Yeah.
They acted separately. They felt separate. They didn't easily integrate. They always saw what their colleagues was doing locally and dealt with that, and it was always very almost tribal, actually, in the way that they were. And I think a lot of organisations have this sort of issue. Once everyone went remote, and all of a sudden the form of communication was exactly the same wherever you were in the world, all of a sudden, the organisation changed dramatically, and the communication on some levels improved quite a bit, and we got a lot of integration, and there was a lot of understanding. Now, I'm not saying that everything was perfect. Certain things slowed down a bit, certain things where you might, that sort of water cooler moment where you just have some moment of genius and then somebody else expands on that, and those sort of creative discussions, a lot of that changed quite dramatically, and it was quite hard. We had to sort of force a bit of that to make that kind of stuff happen. But as a consequence now, and we have an office that we are actually surrendering, and we're going to move to more hybrid, where we've got smaller offices. Actually, one of the chief issues we had in the UK throughout COVID, we were hiring, and we have people all over the country. And we can't easily centralise it in any one place. So the plan is to have a small London presence, for which we do meetings and gatherings to get people together, a smaller Malta presence where we don't have that single office as we did before. And in fact, we're looking at your offices, the base camp as a solution for that, largely because I think it offers everything that we need. A small office, a set of desks for people to meet, great theatre and meeting facilities for us to take advantage of. So we're looking at that very seriously as a good way to go forward, so that when we do need to bring people into the office to do that critical sort of creative activity where we need to operate very closely as a team, we can do that. But really giving people the flexibility to be able to work from home and manage their day a bit more as everyone really wants. I mean, people don't like commuting. I don't like commuting either, but I do crave that connection with people, especially when we're trying to crack some sort of technical or creative problem. So I think that offers that. So yeah, we have seen quite a change.
And Giuseppe, because I know you're also currently working within the hybrid model.
Yeah, it was like a sort of like a forced transformation, unexpected, because I believe that innovation, creativity thrive when people stay into the same space. But actually, I saw in the last couple of years that this is not completely true, because we've been extremely productive in the last couple of years. We've been forced, of course, like anyone else, to move remotely. In that time, I took a bet, and I built a nice office in a nice business center here. But we recently closed because we decentralized, and then it was impossible to centralize, because during the last couple of years, we kept hiring, we had some turnover, and then say, oh, we have people in Europe, we had people in Ukraine, because we had presence there, in Mexico, where we have now like a big presence. And then nobody wants it to really, because we were looking for office space in Mexico. We've been operating before the war in Ukraine into co-working spaces. We had office here. But then I say, okay, all right. And I found the first benefit, unfortunately, is that the job market is very competitive. Yeah. We have a gentleman agreement here in the island. Nobody poach, or like if someone send me a CV from Accent or vice versa, we call each other, say what's going on, because this is like, we are small.
Community.
Yeah, small community of developers and game development company. And actually now, like the benefit of having people working from home, we hire people easier, because we give the benefit, especially for the senior people that are supposed to move in another country. Malta is a beautiful country to move on, but sometimes this can be dangerous, because sometimes they come over here, they settle, and then for some reason, maybe the spouses or them or the kids, they want to move back. And then this generates a turnover which is unsustainable, especially when you have long-term projects like us, 2, 3, 4 years.
In your case, so it's a hybrid model, but still using Malta as a stage for your global ambitions.
Yes,
The base is here and we're looking out, right?
Yeah, we're organized, we're a Maltese entity, but we don't have any hybrid model. What we're offering now is like we're giving some allowance to cover some expenses for their electricity and the bills, or maybe they want to go into co-working space and say, okay, you can spend this money in a different way. Even logistically, we don't buy hardware anymore. We give the new employees money to upgrade. So you upgrade or you buy out, you take care of it, it's still like, and then they will lend this to us. But so the logistic really, really improve, and we can focus the investment and the time on the people. Because of course, like, most of it is about people. So we have, we can invest in more talent, in more resources, and also dedicating more time actually to the people working. So we have a much bigger HR department now because, of course, it's complicated, taking care about the people that work synchronous, asynchronous. It's complicated, but so far I think it's a viable model. Maybe we will build an office again for like something small. Maybe we'll come to Basecamp to give them the opportunity to say, hey, you want to go work there? There is the theater, there's meeting rooms. But so far, thank you also for the technology, because like the improvement of Slack's integration.
You wouldn't have done that without.
It's I'm very old school. I have to be honest. I had like I tried to have people coming back to the office, but then like I had like less than 10% in the office, and I said, okay, if this is what you want to do, let's do it. And actually, I'm also having the benefit because I can focus more on biz dev and on the creative direction because I'm also the creative director. I've never been so creative. I had the opportunity finally to focus on making games. Because in the office, even if you delegate, you have HR, you have operation managers, you still have a lot of things to do, from cleaning services, it's not about the expenses because those are okay, but it's like the time that you consume taking care about the city. We'll see. For now, it's a bet for everyone here. So we'll see.
Toti, in your case, what always really strikes me is, so you've got a number of industry veterans working within your team, right? People who've worked for Sony, people who worked for EA, and they moved to Malta with their family. And I mean, how do you keep them motivated, Toti? Because it's not a large studio, but it's like
we're working at a very exciting project. That's it. That's
right?
how we get them. We have I think we've even offered people less salary than they had in their prior job, but. I mean, we have industry veterans, and everyone's a partner. Everyone shares in the upside. And so I think people. We have people who have been working on major MMO titles like the one that we are doing. And I think. I mean, everyone in our team, we're very ambitious. We want to do the best game in the world in our genre, and that's what they came for. I have to say a little comment on what you said. I think for us, the whole distributed thing, it was good and bad, okay? In some case, I have to say what you said first, Giuseppe, is that we're like a little bit the analogy of the Apollo 13. You get a lot of people in the room, and they have to solve, the thing. And for very intimate, close design that doesn't have a lot of people, right? It doesn't have middle management or whatever. For me, that's valuable. However, it doesn't have to be all the time. It can be combined. The challenge with that, and I'll not say anything more, the challenge with that is that when in COVID we had to be completely remote, right? We created a kind of office space remotely. We had Discord, everyone had their office, checked in, you could do things like, it's different to jump into someone's office and say, hey, should we do this or that? And they're okay, yeah, then to set a meeting, right? But when we have it a hybrid, what's difficult is to know a little bit where's the center, right? Where it's difficult to have both. But like I say, the business is changing. Things are becoming less centralized anyway. A lot of third-party stuff that you're buying from here and there. Everything gets more modular, right? And so, but for me, yes, it's a hybrid system, but it has to be, it's a new thing. It's in development.
That's good. Nick, you've got a lovely sea view from your office.
Yes, we do.
A lovely, but you also work, you've got your main base and you've got your hybrid model, right?
Yeah, I mean, when COVID struck, we disintegrated, similar to what Dave was telling. It took us a day on I think it was March 5th, actually, when we all went home and never returned, right? And luckily, we had been working, or individuals within the team had been working in home office before, so that wasn't really a big shift for us. We did have to improve communications quite dramatically, so we immediately installed several producers in a communication role. So we had much closer and more communication. I think we're all pretty much working on Slack nowadays. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean, Slack is an invaluable tool for us. I mean, we just need it any day, any minute of the day, in order to communicate and to coordinate. So for us, now, after COVID, last year we rented and then built up a studio in Baluta, deliberately with the idea of having it as an open office. With the 40 people that we are now, I think we are hosting 18 desks or something like that, approximately, in the studio with some additional workspaces. But frankly, what we're seeing is being completely non-mandatory, and people having moved to, for instance, Gozo in the meantime, etc. The studio is more or less half full, I would say, in average. On some days, it's frankly full. On others, it's more empty, and I would say, on average, it's about half. But the tendency is there actually to increase. So we're seeing people returning to the office and actually enjoying that completely out of their own initiative. We're not, forcing anyone to actually come in or anything. And any meeting that we're doing is frankly also broadcast. So we're, like you're saying, it actually helps. You don't really have this locational thing going on anymore, right? Yeah. But on the other hand, what we can see is that there are differences in the way that teams actually work with each other. Individuals actually become more detached, I would say, from the team. But this is an individual thing. It really depends a bit on the personality.
Okay, yeah, true. John, and I'll finish with you. Last time when we were talking, what really struck me is when you mentioned about Basecamp. I think it was when we were having a chat last night. We're going to start collaborating with the other studio, which is in the next room. How does that work within sort of the cross, fertilization, kind of, and the ideas generated? Because you work on different IPs and all that.
So partially it has to do, I think, a bit with the nostalgia of being in a coherent space all together again, and collectively sharing our ideas and create a vision and exchanging knowledge. And the thing that we see now, especially being at Basecamp and being with the guys next door of Anvil, is that how close you can be and like-minded with a person that's running a completely, like you said, different studio, different project, but at the same time, maybe all this time that we spend apart and isolated, as creative leaders, as studio managers, and as guiding lights of the video game industry, maybe it brought us a bit more close together right now because it's something that we were missing, and we see that in conversations that we value with each other. I've experienced even recently taking advice from the other studios and applying it to our processes or to our next step of the roadmap, and actually working out and then reciprocating in the same way to the other studios. So it's a bit of a mix of nostalgia and understanding that, we are a community, we're a small community, and to grow we have to be stronger together, like gentleman's agreement and supporting each other. So that's the.
Can I add a little note, because isolation sometimes is good, because especially engineers, it's so easy to distract an engineer when it's coding.
Yeah.
Unsolicited meetings distract people so much. I saw the dynamics in studios because I built a couple of studios. They need to stay on their own. In fact, most of the developers, they work with their own headphones, with their music, because they need to isolate from the environment, because we have this crazy business model of this open space. This open space concept is no good. because people need the space, need the time, need
The
the silence.
engineers need the office.
The engineers,
the
they have their own
artists, they can do the open space, right?
Yeah, that's probably a solution. It's,
Yeah.
it's partially true. I'm sure there are some problems there. But people, to get back to what they're doing, they will take around 15 to 20 minutes to get back into the flow. And this is really, really a problem.
Yeah.
We saw, like, we increased the productivity, especially engineering team, which, like, you know, as a cliche, they're more, like, isolated. Artists are more,
True.
you know.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Gentlemen, thank you also very much for supporting us. Thank you very much for being part of our dream on this island. You know, and we'll continue sailing there, right, Nick? And you know, fair winds, everybody. I think there are stomachs which are rumbling. Lunch is waiting for us, and Marie, in your hands.